This video will discuss the basics of health education lesson planning in the HBA program at GVSU. Lesson planning is a very detailed and reflective process, and health lesson plans incorporate effective teaching styles and student engagement strategies, skills-based learning activities, and strategies to reduce the harm of potentially triggering topics. The health education lesson plan template has been recently updated to more closely reflect the lesson plan used by the College of Education and to improve accessibility and user-friendliness for future educators who are new to lesson planning. The following slides will highlight these recent changes and best practices in health education lesson planning. The first component of the health lesson plan is the area of health, title, and learning objectives. This slide shows a section of the lesson plan which addresses these areas. First, the area of health should be one of the 6 health topics: nutrition, alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, personal health and wellness, social, emotional, and mental health, reproductive health, or safety. Students should plan for about 55-minute long classes and class sizes of 30 students, although class length and size can vary greatly from school to school. Several of the areas on the previous slide deserve greater clarification. Be sure to highlight the skills the lesson addresses. All 8 of the skills are already listed on the template, so it's very clear that the lesson aligns with the National Health Education Standards. In a later section of the lesson plan, the teacher will elaborate on this skill and the specific strategies used to help students learn the skill. Next, teachers should create a creative and engaging title. This helps grab students' attention right when they walk through the door, clarifies the lesson's focus, and sets expectations for the class period. Furthermore, learning objectives should be written with action verbs that are measurable, such as demonstrate, describe, list, and identify. The verbs understand or know are not measurable and do not show students will demonstrate their learning. The I can statement related to the learning objective should be concise and clearly displayed in the classroom to communicate learning expectations. Finally, the I know students are meeting the objective section should be linked directly to the assessment. Simply describe what students will be doing on the assessment and how they can fully meet the objective. The next section of the health lesson plan template is the summary and materials. The summary section is simply a brief description of everything that will occur during the lesson, such as learning activities, grouping of students, and assessments. This section does not need to be detailed, and general statements are acceptable in the lesson summary because the teacher will further elaborate on everything in the script. Additionally, the materials section should include all materials for the lesson, both digital materials such as documents or slideshows, and physical materials like whiteboard markers or paper handouts. All online files linked in this section should have share settings enabled to anyone with the link can access. Everything listed in the materials section should have the quantity specified. Following the summary and materials is the lesson procedure or scripted lesson, which begins with the lesson intro. The lesson intro should be highly engaging. Some great examples of lesson intros include a gamified learning activity, a think, pair, share discussion, or a video. For more sensitive health topics, the teacher should start with a trigger warning so students know their options for participating in the lesson, such as stepping out of the classroom if they need to take a break, or completing an alternative assignment in the library. The entire lesson procedure section should be completely scripted. Scripted means the teacher writes out exactly what they're going to say, typical responses from students, the grouping methods they'll use, and transitions between activities. This helps communicate the teacher's pedagogy and makes it easy for a substitute teacher to follow the lesson plan. Planning something like, "Now I will explain nutrients" in the lesson procedure is not appropriate. It's not scripted, and it's unclear what the teacher will be saying, doing, or teaching. The lesson procedure also contains a section for the skill-based model of teaching health. Under steps of skill, the teacher should list the information or content required to teach the health skill. This could look like defining keywords, sharing a video about health content, or student responses to discussion questions. After the steps is model the skill, which means showing the skill by teacher demonstration, verbal description, or using video, among many other methods. After the skill has been modeled, students will practice the skill by doing something, such as physically doing the skill, analyzing an article or personal story, or interacting with their peers. This slide shows the final section of the health lesson plan, which is differentiation. Differentiation includes adapting or modifying the lesson to meet the needs of students with different achievement levels and cultural and linguistic backgrounds. Additionally, the teacher must consider potential safety issues or triggers that will occur during the lesson. For linguistic supports, the teacher should provide as many resources as possible to support students of different linguistic backgrounds. For example, providing handouts in both Spanish and English would help all students succeed. Additionally, pairing up students with someone who speaks the same language as them may help them succeed, especially if additional resources are not available. Furthermore, cultural supports include how the lesson can be adapted to be relevant for all students. For example, a lesson on nutrition should be modified so that even students who live in food deserts can learn to choose healthier options. Socioeconomic status is a major cultural difference among students, and teachers should consider how this factor affects accessibility to good health resources, quality of life, and the relevancy of class learning content. Next, the teacher must include adaptations to support students who need more time and provide extension activities for students who would benefit from enrichment. Finally, triggers are very common in health education, especially for topics such as body image, personal experiences, addiction, and mental health. The teacher must have a plan to address triggers that will arise when learning about specific content, and should communicate with a school counselor or therapist to increase students' awareness of resources to get help. In all, detailed lesson planning demonstrates a commitment to the self-reflective process necessary to improve your teaching practice. The lesson plan templates created by the HV faculty and the College of Education are designed to help new teachers address all components of a lesson plan thoroughly. For this reason, students must read all of the instructions, italics, and descriptions. These will help you accurately complete each section. Thank you for watching.